This is a rugged 3.5-mile hiking loop. The hike is steep and requires some scrambling around large boulders through narrow canyons. You are about to visit country inhabited by the Great Basin subspecies of the western rattlesnake. Well, on those encouraging notes, I need to tell you that it is October 6th and I'm doing the Wilson Canyon Trail here in Nevada. And yep, it's steep right off the bat. I'm starting at 10 in the morning. I had to drive quite a ways from my campsite. I'm staying at Walker Lake recreation area. You can look behind me and it's already beautiful way up here. I'm assuming in the spring it would be spectacular here. Oh my, this is cool. Wow. This trail is on a slant. It's not flat, but it's amazing. Well, continuing on with the hike through the Bible, just before Moses was about to die, God had him climb up Mt Abarim, and he was able to look over into the Promised Land. This is the place that the Israelites had their eyes set on right when they left Egypt. Moses was not allowed to enter it because at Kadesh he had struck the rock instead of speaking to it. But at least now he was able to look into the land. Then God had Moses inaugurate Joshua before the people to let them know that he was now going to be the new leader, and even now the co-leader with Moses, so that they would know that God had authority with him. Joshua had valuable experience being Moses' assistant and as a military leader, but having God's Spirit was his most basic qualification of leading God's people, because he would be in touch with Israel's divine king and follow his leading. While he would not have face-to-face interaction with the Lord as Moses did, he would receive specific guidance through the priestly oracle of the Urim and Thummim. Having Moses commission Joshua and share power with him while he was still alive would ensure a smooth transition. Before Moses passed to his rest, God had him do some housekeeping stuff first, one of which was to take vengeance on the Midianites. These people had a role earlier in seducing Israel into apostasy that resulted in divine destruction. Balaam was the one that told them how to seduce the Israelites. So Moses had 1,000 men from each tribe battle them, and he sent Phinehas into the battle with the holy articles of God and the signal trumpets. Phinehas was the same priest who had delivered Israel by slaying the persons whose sin was causing a divine plague. He took the holy articles and the signal trumpets to call on divine aid as he accompanied the symmetrical army. This was clearly holy war to carry out divine punishment. So they killed the kings of Midian and all the males, including Balaam. Can you imagine? Balaam could have lived a long and happy life serving God, but because of greed, he was killed in a war. Anyway, the women and children were taken captive, and they had a lot of spoil to bring home too, like cattle and flocks and wealth, and all the cities were burned. They brought the captives, the booty, and the spoil to Moses. But Moses was very upset that they had kept all the women alive, because these were the very ones who, through the counsel of Balaam, had caused the Israelites to trespass against God by their seductive powers. So Moses had them kill all the women that had known a man intimately, and all the male children. But the virgin girls were spared because they could be safely assimilated into the Israelites, including through marriage. Then the men of war had to purify themselves and all the spoil. And then they gave an offering to the Lord, because not one of them had been killed in battle. After the war, the tribes of Reuben and Gad approached Moses, saying that they wanted to stay on this side of the Jordan River. I really appreciate how this is an interpretive trail. It's saying that this area was underwater many years ago, which is true, when there was a flood. The Israelites had taken the territories of Sihon and Og, which were east of the Jordan River. However, they were planning to cross the Jordan to conquer the land of Canaan, which was on the west side of the river. However, Reuben and Gad found the eastern rangelands to be ideal for them and their livestock, so they wanted to keep these for their inheritance. Moses thought the Gadites and Reubenites were trying to avoid the battles for Canaan and would discourage the other Israelites with faithless cowardice, as the 10 spies had done at Kadesh. But they answered Moses' objection by promising to fight at the front lines of the Israelite army until the conquest of Canaan was complete. So on this condition, Moses assigned the Transjordanian areas to them and to half the tribe of Manasseh. God reiterates how the Canaanites were to totally drive out the wicked inhabitants of Canaan by cooperating with God, who had promised to drive them out from before his people. We've got some hoodoos going on now in this camp. This is just so fun, so special. I stepped in smuck. That nearly caused me to slip. So yeah, you don't want to do this. Just pigeons, I guess. Lots of them. Yes, you surely wouldn't want to do this trail in the rain. The ground is still damp. We haven't had rain. Greasewood. Yeah, greasewood. Looks like they're taking us above these rock scrambles. It's a cool hoodoo. Here's a behind me look. Since we're not coming back, it's a loop trail. Then they talked about how they would divide the land once they entered Canaan. The larger tribes would get more land naturally, and the Levites would get the cities. And 6 of these cities were to be cities of refuge. So this is a slick and slide. It's a smoothly polished surface created by frictional movement between rocks along 2 sides of a vault. Its surface is normally striated in the direction of movement. Tremendous heat is sometimes produced, causing the minerals to fuse and form a ceramic surface. The ceramic-like surface of a slick and slide can be seen right here. If one person killed another, it was customary for a relative of the deceased person to carry out the death penalty on the killer. But the grieving and outraged relative could not be relied upon to distinguish between intentional murder, for which capital punishment was appropriate. This just seems like such a pretty picture. It's a great overview of the valley. God worked with the existing cultures, but regulated its customs to protect the accidental manslayer by providing neutral towns controlled by the Levites as safe havens. The killers could flee to these and expect a fair trial. Even an inadvertent sin required atonement, but there was no animal sacrifice for taking a person's life. So although an accidental manslayer was spared from death and was free inside the city of refuge, he was free to return home only when the high priest died naturally. This system acknowledged the seriousness of taking human life, even by accident, and gave the relatives of the dead person time to recover from their anger. It also highlighted the role of the high priest in bearing the guilt of the people, and pointed forward to the atoning but unnatural death of Christ, our high priest, who has borne all human guilt. Well, at least it's not a rattler. That's what I'm happy about. Why doesn't it move? Well, I moved instead. He can sit there as long as he wants. This is kind of neat on this side of the mountain too. Lots of red rocks. Kinds of creatures today. Oh, here's a piece of petrified wood I discovered on my own. Also, on moral pollution of the land, if those who lived on the land accumulated too many serious moral offenses, they would be expelled or exiled from the land. This is just a super special hike. Oh, I can hear we're getting close to the Walker River. There's a riparian section down there. I hope you like canyons, because I sure do. There's the Walker River. I have to walk by the highway a bit now, not really, but there it is. These kind of rocks stuck together means there was a volcano in this area a long time ago. This is a bit sketchy, but it's okay. Lastly, if women were to get inheritances, they were instructed to marry within their tribe to keep the inheritance in their tribe. All right, I've completed the loop. I'm on this same last leg that leads to my vehicle. If you ever wanted to know what the middle of those rocks look like, there's a piece that broke away. And there's my Louise, all by herself. In case you haven't figured it out, the Healing Hiker rating for this Wilson Canyon Trail is most definitely a 5 out of 5. I had it all to myself, and it is very reminiscent of hiking in Death Valley. I absolutely enjoyed it. Now, the Book of Numbers is done. It wasn't so bad after all, was it?